So here's a little more progress on my bracket that will mount on the outboard. The notch, the fold actually went pretty good, although interestingly enough, this paint just kind of peeled off. So that's cool. So I'll be doing paint anyways, but interesting. At any rate, all the edges need rounding, all that stuff, and I'll have to arrange for my bolts and so forth. So now I'll pull out and get the motor, access to the motor. It's still on the houseboat, and see what I can do with that. And yeah, so a bit of progress. So that's the wrap. That's fairly decent gauge. I don't know, what is that? It's not 1/8, but it's 3/32 thick steel, something like that. At any rate, I actually matched it up relatively good. It's on the end, it lines up pretty good, so that'll all get ground flush. I think the way I need to do it is have 2 tightening bolts, and so they are long, and then have 2 other holes where I set in the more flush mounted bolts. Once I screw the tightening bolts in position and get it tight, well, I could clamp it, I suppose, because yeah, it'd be on there for the whole trip. Oh, back up a bit. This turned out really good. You know, some more streamlining to be needed, but you know, that's a nice edge presented. And I think I can get away. I was going to drill that nut right through the tail fin here, but I think I can get away without it because that's on there pretty good. So a couple bolts, that's really on there. So yeah, I think this is going to work with the rudder in between, and actually it's long enough that I can put the pin for the rudder right through the end here as well. So that would work. I could even forego the cast iron that I have for it, but I think I'll keep it because it just adds some stability to the aluminum blade. And then I'll arrange a steel cable up to raise and lower the blade, and then some sort of catch or something, so that I can just snap on the cable when it's in an up position somewhere on the motor cowling. So yeah, that's so far so good. Well, now I'm convinced it will work. You can see the shape actually is decent. There's more work to be done here. I'll do a nice round over in this area here. More drilling, but I've tagged so that I'm going to get 3 bolts, one through this hole up here, 3 bolts, and I'll need a couple spacers, and the pivot bolt needs to be loose. So I've marked a line down here where I'll flange it off a bit, bend it off the blade so that it is free, and then with the washer, and that one will be loose with a lock nut on the end so that the rudder can come up and down. And if I tag the rudder in about here with a steel cable, I'll be able to tip it up, not that high, but basically about yay. Can you see? About yay. So for the most part, that'd be out of the water, maybe-ish, and if not, you just leave it down and let it, in fact, I'm tempted to probably just leave it down, because if I tilt the motor, the whole unit will come up anyways. So you know what? Just bolt it and leave it down. Then, yeah, no, it still needs to pivot, because if I hit something, then it can just ride over it. So yeah, but it will drop because it's a blade of aluminum. And it's not perfectly straight yet. It will be, as I say. I'll get some spacers in there to adjust it, to align it. And then I don't have to drill anything on the motor. It just will be all friction fit, because this fin locks it into position. So, and the bottom section there. Yeah, so I'm excited. That's going to work. So it's on our Dien's Rose right now, but I'm just playing with it because it happened to be on the motor. So I'm going to swap that over to OSPREY eventually. Just doing the work on it here. So we don't need that for our Rose. Although, technically now I could put up a square sail and I'd have a rudder. Interesting. Well, this just keeps getting more fun, doesn't it? Put a linkage from the steering motor over to this motor so that they both turn in unison, and when the beast sails downwind, I have some steerage. Interesting. Okay, anyway, so now I'm getting carried away, which, as you can see, I do tend to get carried away. So this is going to be a fun little side project.